Hello, my name is Heidi Biggs. I will be presenting Redlining Maps and Terrains of Sustainability, Interdisciplinary Mapping of Racialized Redlining to Present-Day Sustainability Agendas in HCI, on behalf of my co-authors Shelley Suttles and Chowan Bardzell. In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, where we saw historic inequity underpinning unequal impacts and outcomes, in this paper we broaden considerations of sustainability in HCI to examine intersections of sustainability and justice moving forward. To begin this discussion, we use duo-ethnographic mapmaking to probe how present-day sustainability issues like food security and environmental harms in Indianapolis, Indiana, are tied to historic redlining. Redlining was a U.S. government-run racially discriminatory method of assessing and mapping risk for home loans in the 1930s. Through this work, we offer three provocations for HCI practitioners. First, a call to explore how human, non-human intersections are connected to human-human problems. Second, a method which supports transdisciplinary approaches to sustainability in HCI. And third, a call to consider engaging historic data and data work as a part of environmental sustainability agendas. And please see the paper for a detailed positionality statement about our diverse racial, ethnic, gender, and disciplinary orientations and our relations to Indianapolis as a site. So this work begins to connect SHCI research to social justice agendas in SHCI, specifically ecological post-human approaches, which seek to decenter the human in response to climate change. We are also responding to critiques of post-human theory, which argue post-humanism can erase colonial histories and homogenize human experience. So ultimately we ask, how does post-human SHCI intersect with human-human problems of socioeconomic sustainability and social justice? We do this through the case study of redlining in Indianapolis. Redlining stems from a federally subsidized home loan program in the 1930s run by the Home Owners Loan Corporation, which is shortened to the HOLC. As part of the program to assess the risk of giving a home loan, neighborhoods and cities were rated A through D, where D stood for hazardous and was colored red. These red tracks were associated with African American communities and the denial of loans. And also, Indiana has a history of institutionalized racism, and the borders of Indianapolis were expanded in the 1970s to dilute Black voting power. This becomes important later in our discussion. We use dual ethnographic mapmaking to explore redlining and sustainability. Cross-disciplinary discussions around our maps emphasized the different tools and data sets we used, allowed us to preserve our individual voices and disciplines, and thereby draw out tensions between our orientations to sustainability. In the following, I discuss what we learned through our interdisciplinary approaches to mapmaking. We discussed three different levels of engagement with our maps. First, the ways that our maps reflected different definitions and starting points for sustainability. Second, were the techniques for mapmaking that we used. And third, our collaborative sense-making garnered through mapmaking. So first, we noticed we had different approaches to mapmaking that reflected different ways of defining sustainability. Suttles, the agricultural economist, defined sustainability as socioeconomic. She stated, "When I was making the maps, I was thinking about poverty. I was thinking about needing food assistance and having household sustainability." She made two maps using our code and census data. One was an exploration of what she called social sustainability. In this map, she used a proxy dataset to represent food security in Black communities by using Black households participating in the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, or SNAP. She layered that with polygons for areas that had been redlined D by the HOLC in the 1930s. Her second map was a map that considered the economics of proximity to water. In this map, she combined waterways, Black poverty rates, and historic redlining marked HOLC grade D. And in this map, she looked for connections between the economic value of living near water in terms of health, wellness, and financial investment over time for Black households. This economic angle of environmental sustainability was not something that Xiaowen or I had considered before. And then my maps were based on ecological post-human approaches to sustainability. This was guided by my research on climate change. As I mentioned in the paper, my research started with climate change, so my definitions of sustainability have been colored by that genre of thinking. I was inspired by two cases. First, how Black small farmers use agriculture to address food insecurity at a community level. And second, a case where floodwater from an affluent, historically white neighborhood was diverted to a historically redlined neighborhood, exposing them to sewage. And as a posthumanist, I also tried to include creeks, land, and infrastructure as actors in the impacts of redlining. And I made maps using tools like Paint and Adobe products. And for me, mapping was a way to spatially and visually process information, but maps also served as a post-human expression of structures that have many entry points. Second, we compared the techniques and material strategies we used to build relations and make meaning. We used layering and modularity to map relations. For example, on the left, Suttles layered food access maps with redlining maps, and this layering helped us quickly see relationships like how the city limits had shifted in the 70s, which made spatial intersections of redlining and food access hard to correlate. Conversely, in my hand-built map on the right, the map's modularity allowed me to build specific keyword-driven maps to see targeted relationships. And both Suttles and I also included bodies of water as aspects of our map making. Finally, our discussions of our maps helped us learn new things in the spaces between our disciplines. We noted the scale of socioeconomic change moved at a rapid pace that was hard to observe using our methods. In some ways, it was nonsensical to compare food security to redlining without more information. Due to this, Suttles reflected that data mining or cultivating historic longitudinal data might be an area of work for SHCI scholars. On the other hand, ecological sustainability and redlining had strong relationships, like above, where redlining related to factories spatially correlates to the lead levels of the soil in Indianapolis. Following our mapping dialogues, we discussed the implications of this research for sustainability in HCI. First, we discussed how this work extends notions of sustainability in HCI in general, and post-human approaches in particular. And second, we ask how historic and present-day data is tied to sustainability and futures with climate change. At a high level in our discussion, we talk about how this project extends sustainability in HCI by mapping terrains which include socioeconomic sustainability and racial justice. Defining sustainability across disciplines expands its definitions in HCI. The socioeconomic approach exposed how ecological posthumanism might take for granted a basic level of socioeconomic sustainability, which is not always available due to historic and present-day racial inequality. On the other hand, ecological posthumanism challenges economists to value non-humans beyond the scope of their value to humans. Second, this case study expands the scales and intensities at which posthumanism is employed in SHCI research. This brought up two provocations. First, we call for SHCI practitioners interested in more than human approaches to question how human and non-human intersections are connected with social justice and human-human problems. And second, we offer the method of dual ethnographic mapmaking as a starting point for transdisciplinary discussion and multiple ends to sustainability. Second, we consider histories of data practice and use and their ties to the present. Through this project, we hope to open provocations about how environmental challenges have specific racialized embodied histories in place tied to historic data practices, and how data work, the unglamorous work of building data sets that are inclusive and just, might be part of sustainability agendas and climate change futures. Ultimately, this is a first step at finding intersections between human-human problems and more than human approaches to sustainability in HCI. We hope to expand on it further in the future, building on the tensions, dissonances, challenges, and plurality of transdisciplinary approaches to sustainability. Thank you so much.